I'm Deborah Wince-Smith. I'm the CEO of the Council on Competitiveness, and on behalf of our board of directors, our executive committee, and all our distinguished members and guests, it's my great privilege to welcome you all to the 2025 Gala Dinner and National Competitiveness Forum of the Council on Competitiveness. I know many of you have traveled from across the country to join us, some from places that are very cold and wintry, and others from places that should be cold and wintry, but we're very happy that you made it in time. And thank you for being here with us as we come together to co-create the competitiveness agenda that will guide this nation in the years ahead. I want to begin by thanking our sponsors whose generosity makes this evening and the National Competitiveness Forum tomorrow possible. And the sponsorship really helps sustain the Council's mission that depends upon private sector contributions in the year ahead. So please join me in recognizing our sponsors. And let me start with our premier level sponsor, the Bank of America. Our founder level sponsor, the University of Pittsburgh. Our chair level sponsors, Ancora, Lockheed Martin, Snap-on, and the University of Colorado Boulder. Our president level sponsors, Arizona State University, Colby College, Elevate Quantum, NSF Ascend Engine, Los Alamos National Laboratory, Primient, University of Tennessee at Knoxville, University of Texas at San Antonio, Tufts University, University of Maryland, University of Vermont, and University of Wyoming. And our benefactor sponsors, HNTB, IFF, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, and the University of Notre Dame. And our patron sponsors, American National Standards Institute, Gallup, Hofstra University, MITRE, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, Quantinium, the University of California, Davis, and the University of Georgia. So thank you all for your support and commitment to the Council on Competitiveness. We're very honored to have with us for our National Competitiveness Forum so many distinguished leaders from across the country, as I said, and also tonight's very, very special because it is the first evening where we are welcoming our new chair of the board of the council, Erik Fyrwald, the CEO of IFF, who succeeded Brian Moynihan as our chair this August. Erik, we're thrilled that you're with us tonight. I'd also like to welcome our other board members with us this evening, our distinguished academic vice chair, Joan Gable, the chancellor of the University of Pittsburgh, and our chair emeritus on the board, Chad Holliday. And also with us tonight is another chair emeritus of the council, Mahmood Khan, the CEO of Evolution. And our labor vice chair, Kenneth Cooper, the president of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, could not be with us, but he's represented tonight by John Rosenberg of EBEW. John, thank you for being with us. We have many members tonight who serve on the Council's flagship National Commission on Innovation and Competitiveness Frontiers, and I would like them to just raise their hands so that we can give a collective applause for all of you who are making that additional contribution to the work of the council by serving as national commissioners. So just raise your hand and we'll take a collective applause. We also have the leadership of our university forum with us tonight. Dr. Jennifer Mnookin, the Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin. Dr. Jerry Moorhead, the President of the University of Georgia. Dr. Gabrielle Starr, the President of Pomona College. and Dr. David Wilson, the president of Morgan State University. As many of you know, the Council has a long-standing, almost 16-year initiative, our Technology Leadership and Strategy Initiative of CTOs from across industry, university, and our national labs, with 3 co-chairs. And tonight, we're very pleased that the laboratory co-chair is with us, Patricia Falcone, the Deputy Laboratory Director for Science and Technology at Lawrence Livermore National Lab. This year was a very busy year for the Council, and so I do want to recognize those of our leaders who are with us tonight who hosted 5 of our national competitiveness conversations across America that were really tremendously successful and pulled together the entire ecosystems of their respective regions to understand where they stand in their innovation capacity, what's the roadmap and policy agenda for going forward, and really how to knit these dynamic innovation regions together into our national ecosystem. So on March 10th, we were in San Antonio, and our conversation was on innovation and critical infrastructure security in Cyber City, hosted by President Taylor Amy. Taylor, thank you so much for that fantastic conversation you hosted. In March, the end of March and early April, we were in Boulder, where President Justin Schwartz, President Ed Seidel of Wyoming, Mike Friedman, Martin Keller led a very exciting conversation on pioneering climate resiliency and quantum initiative. And that was, again, fantastic discussion. So I want to thank you all for that one. And then in early May, we went to the Southwest and we're in Santa Fe, where the director of Los Alamos, Tom Mason, and the soon-to-be departing director of Sandia, but James Perry, co-chaired Securing Innovation, AI, Quantum, and Advanced Manufacturing. And thank you for that leadership role and that very critical discussion led by these 2 great national laboratories. And then in June, we went to New England and had a very interesting conversation with a title and a subject you might not have thought of perhaps, but it was very prescient, particularly since we're celebrating our 250th anniversary next year, and New England was really the heart of the beginning of our nation. But that conversation was on growing New England's next generation innovation economy with the fusion of the blue, the oceans, and the green economy. And it was hosted at Tufts by President Sunil Kumar, the president of Colby, David Green, the new president of University of Vermont, Marlene Trump, and the president of New England University, Robert Johnson. And again, that was very, very exciting as well. And concluding the year in Pittsburgh in early October, Chancellor Joan Gable and President Farna Jahanian of Carnegie Mellon hosted at Pitt, Forging the Future, the intersection of health, AI, and technology. But that conversation was even more exciting because it brought together the Global Federation of Competitiveness Councils. We had leaders from some 30 nations who joined us in Pittsburgh, and we combined the 2 conversations, and it was really outstanding. So I want to thank Chancellor Gable for rounding out the year with that fantastic conversation in Pittsburgh. So before I make a few substantive comments about the country and the work of the Council, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the tremendous staff at the Council, my colleagues, our Executive Vice President and COO, Chad Evans, for his tremendous work and leadership. You all know Chad, and he is a tremendous contributor. Our Vice President for Innovation, Mike Nelson, and our Director of Membership and Operations, Marcy Jones. Thank you all for your leadership and contributions. So, as we've been talking during the cocktail hour, we are gathering at a pivotal moment during a pivotal year of a lot of turbulence and transformation underway before our eyes. We are truly living through what the Council on Competitiveness has deemed the age of disruption and discontinuity, global geopolitics, fracturing supply chains, accelerating scientific breakthroughs, economic volatility, national security threats are all converging and colliding to redefine competitiveness in the 21st century. Here in this room, we represent the nonpartisan, cross-sectoral C-suite leadership that history demands at this time, where the nexus of business, academia, labor, research, and government are all united by a common purpose, and that is to meet our greatest challenges and seize these opportunities before us for the greater productivity, security, and prosperity for all Americans. Given the amount of disruption underway, we should ask, how is the United States competing? Well, I thought I'd share a little bit of some data. Data tells a nuanced story here. In the second quarter of 2025, the U.S. economy rebounded with a 3.0% annualized growth rate. It was a strong bounce after a modest contraction in early 2025, and economists predicting all over the world that our economy would crash with the new tariff policy announced by the Trump administration. The labor market remains relatively solid, with an unemployment rate around 4.4% as of the latest report. We know that inflation has cooled somewhat, but uncertainty remains. And since we gathered a year ago, we've seen dramatic shifts in the U.S. R&D system with increased pressure on federal funding, accountability, and outcomes. And many in this room are working digitally and in collaboration to navigate that set of issues that are so important to the future of our country. So while the signals are mixed, the Council writ large remains very optimistic for disruption, while unsettling is the seedbed of innovation, and we know that through human history. Across our nation, in our universities, in our national labs, in our startups and established firms, the dawn of a new convergence is creating innovation at speed previously unthinkable. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology, next-generation energy systems, advanced manufacturing, material sciences are all intersecting in unexpected ways and ushering in remarkable opportunities across sectors and domains. The convergence of these technologies and sectors is a strategic shift at the center of the future of the United States' position as a dominant global innovator and competitor, and it is truly the foundation of the next wave of our leadership and security. The U.S. Department of Energy's recently announced Genesis mission is focused on turbocharging this new wave of innovation driven by unprecedented computing power, combined with the new productivity tools and promise of AI. Tomorrow, we will hear from the Honorable Dario Gil, the Undersecretary for Science and Director of the Genesis mission at the Department of Energy, and many of the laboratory directors who are with us tonight will also be commenting on this very exciting new initiative. And today, given the tremendous effort of many of the leaders in this room, the vision mapped out by the Genesis mission is possible here in the United States of America because of all of you. Our national laboratories, our research universities, with their world-class computing capacity, scientific talent, mission-driven purpose, combined in new and novel partnerships that are unfolding before our eyes, and we're going to hear a lot about that tomorrow, are the backbone of this transformation. One area poised for dramatic growth due to the rise and convergence of, again, next-generation technologies is the bioeconomy, an essential vector for U.S. competitiveness in the future. And tomorrow afternoon, we will focus much of our attention on writing the next chapter of the global bioeconomy. Because by leading in biotechnology, the United States has the opportunity to rebuild domestic manufacturing capacity, expand the value chain from farm to factory to consumer, and create resilient supply chains that reduce dependence on external sources, ultimately strengthening both economic and national security. We must act with purpose. We must bring together institutions that too often operate in silos: universities and labs, industry and government, public policy and private capital, labor and entrepreneurs. We must invest not only in technology, but most importantly, of course, in our people, in training, in education, and workforce transition and transformation. We must rebuild supply chain resiliency, encourage domestic production, strengthen international partnerships with our allies, and yes, invest in infrastructure, energy, computing, manufacturing, research laboratories, but also our roads, our bridges, our telecommunications, the physical and the digital infrastructures combining. Tomorrow, some 50 distinguished leaders from across the country will convene and speak at the Competitiveness Forum. And as I said, we will explore many of these issues that are shaping our nation and the world at large. And we look forward very much to set the stage also for 2026. It's a milestone year when the Council will celebrate its 40th anniversary in conjunction with our nation celebrating 250 years of independence. We have a historic opportunity and a historic responsibility. And we must not just shape the next decade of competitiveness, but let's see the foundations we will lead for the next 40 years of American leadership. So it is my great honor now and privilege to introduce the Council's new chair, Mr. Erik Fyrwald, the CEO of IFF. As I said, Erik steps into this leadership role following the very distinguished contributions and leadership of Brian Moynihan, the chair and CEO of Bank of America. And he steps in at a time when disruption and discontinuity demand not just leadership, but insight, vision, and ambition. Drawing on his deep experience and accomplishments in advancing research-based industry, starting his career at DuPont, but becoming a global leader in agriculture and nutrition, Erik is really perfectly poised to guide the Council into the next phase of growth, engagement, and impact. So we know, Erik, that you will help us shape this new agenda going forward, and please, everyone, welcome me and all of us bringing Erik to the stage.
First of all, it's a great honor for me to be standing before this group and that we all share the goal of continuing to strengthen American competitiveness, something the Council on Competitiveness has been doing for 40 years. And it was a true honor to be asked by the Council Board to serve as chair of this great organization, following in the footsteps of Brian Moynihan and other leaders I have greatly admired over the years, including two Chairman Emerituses that are here tonight. Maybe it's Chairman Emeriti. Chad Holliday and Mahmood Khan. Chad, who is our Chairman Emeritus, has had as much influence as anyone on my career and views on leadership and the importance of being purpose-driven. And as CEO of DuPont, he got me involved in biotechnology by appointing me to lead the DuPont Agriculture and Nutrition Division 25 years ago, when seed biotechnology was just starting to change the world of agriculture. He also got me the opportunity to join the board of Eli Lilly, which I've had the honor of being part of for 20 years now. And it's just been a fantastic ability to see what's going on at the forefront of biotechnology and to be part of it. And Mahmood, who is a great scientific leader himself, has joined our IFF board and is a terrific advisor to me and our entire company. It's also an honor to support the strong leadership of our Council on Competitiveness with the CEO, Deborah Wince-Smith, and her team, including, as she mentioned, the CEO, Chad Evans, Mike, and others, as they help us drive our collective efforts. And as someone who has had a 44-year career so far in the chemistry and biotech industries and leads a Fortune 500 company, I'm thrilled to be part of the Council and this meeting to share ideas and come up with approaches to help continue strengthening America's competitiveness. But let me tell you some of my story as it's brought me here tonight, and like the stories of each of you, has shaped my desire to help ensure our country's continued leadership in the world. So let me take you back to June 1955, 4 years before I was born. My father, at the time a 30-year-old Norwegian polymer scientist with a wife and infant daughter, got the career opportunity he had dreamed about while a resistance fighter for the Norwegians in World War II. The dream to come to the United States and do material science research for DuPont at the experimental station in Wilmington, Delaware, 100 miles north of here. Now, as many of you know, researchers at the experimental station have built on fundamental science from our universities and national labs, and that is where nylon, Teflon, Kevlar, and other world-changing iconic materials were discovered. And nylon, as many of you know, helped the US and our allies win World War II in applications like parachutes, ropes, and cables, tents, and tires. And Kevlar is still used extensively by our US law enforcement and military personnel. My father was overjoyed to be part of this. And I loved growing up learning about what my father and his colleagues did. So after a great public kindergarten through 12th grade education, I went to the University of Delaware, yes, Pam, studied chemical engineering and started my career, which included 27 years with DuPont. And today I head IFF, a 140-year-old company that's been on the New York Stock Exchange for 60 years. We are global leaders in nature-based food ingredients, flavors, fragrances, and health and biosciences, including biotech enzymes, probiotics, and cultures for food, health, and industrial uses. Our largest biotech facility, and where my office is, are coincidentally at the experimental station in Delaware, the same place my father did chemical research 70 years ago, but our labs have made the shift from chemistry to biotechnology research. Also, as a member of the board of Eli Lilly, I felt the power of the U.S. science system to create life-changing medicines, including how GLP-1s like Zepbound and Mounjaro are improving lives and healthcare systems all around the world. So you may get that I'm a fan of science and greatly appreciate that our country leads the world in science, which drives our economic and military leadership. And fundamental science leadership that has enabled major achievements, such as World War II's Manhattan Project, landing a man on the moon, the development and deployment of the internet, and the Human Genome Project. And I see AI and biotechnology as two complete game changers that we must continue to lead in. One of the lessons I've learned through the years, including from Chad and Mehmood, is that if you want to accomplish big things, you need to think about the system they operate in and get the right stakeholders engaged to create the right plans and make sure they get executed well. And that's why I value so much the Council on Competitiveness and this event, because we, all of us, uniquely bring together all the key stakeholders who help ensure our competitiveness. Leaders from top academic institutions, national laboratories, government officials, companies, and industry trade organizations. And while our roles and ideas on how to get things done may differ, we all have the same goal of competitiveness. And during my career, I've lived 5 years in Asia and 8 in Europe, and have traveled to China every year since 1990, when it was a poor, backward country. So I've firsthand have been able to see how the US, China, and the EU go about trying to be more competitive. And I tell you, I love our leadership position. But we have a very tough competitor in China, including in AI and biotechnology. and we have to work hard and work together to stay ahead. I've spent lots of time in China with companies, government officials, top academic institutions there, national laboratories, and have a pretty good feel for their strengths, but also their challenges. China has a national plan, and they update it every 5 years, and it includes commitment to scientific leadership over time. And through massive centralized investment in education, labs, and strategic industries, China has built a formidable number 2 economy and military, and their people work very, very hard. And cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Hangzhou, and others are very modern with great infrastructure, education, and strategic industry support systems. And they have dynamic companies like Alibaba, Tencent, Huawei, and BYD. According to a Nature magazine study cited in The Economist last week, 9 of the 10 highest output research universities are now in China. And China's open weights AI model, as evidenced by progress made by DeepSeek that we've all read about, is challenging our proprietary closed weights model, such as ChatGPT, Gemini, and others. And China's biotech R&D capabilities and output of new discoveries are no longer just copies of or fast followers from the United States. And evidence is $70 billion invested so far this year by Western pharmaceutical companies to buy access to Chinese-discovered molecules, a number that was 0 5 years ago. And China's nominal GDP now equals the EU at about 17% of the world's GDP. And their export trade surplus this year is going to reach $1 trillion, while our trade deficit is about $1 trillion. But they also have a lot of challenges, including an aging and declining population, difficult attracting non-Chinese talent, their basic science still lags the US, and their bureaucratic oversight and censorship reduces creativity. And I can tell you, you can feel it in China. And we can talk a lot about their challenges and our strengths, but they are making a lot of progress. So let's talk about what we need to do to continue to lead. First of all, we must have a national approach. And I was pleased to see the White House recently release the National Security Strategy and Project Genesis documents, making clear the need for and our commitment to strengthening our leadership in science with AI, automation, biotechnology, and energy all called out as top priorities to ensure our continued economic and military leadership. Now, we'll discuss much more tomorrow about what it takes to continue to lead, but 4 areas that I think we can all agree that we need to work together to do more to ensure our leadership include, first of all, we have to continue to strengthen our education system. Let's make sure that our public pre-K through 12th grade keeps getting better and that every child in the U.S. deserves and gets the opportunity for a great education. And our universities, including the graduate schools, must continue to lead in scientific education. And finally, our trade schools must prepare workers for the jobs of today and an AI-enabled tomorrow. Secondly, let's address how we accelerate science and commercialization of our best science, making sure we fund the engines of growth, our national laboratories and research universities, to do the fundamental science that companies, including startups, turn into commercial products. We're benefiting from that today. We can't lose that edge. And we need to keep getting better regulation that ensures that we safely enable progress with approval processes that are science and risk-based and timely. And let's improve the incentives, the consistency of incentives for domestic corporate research and production. Third, let's have smart immigration. That means keeping our historical ability to attract and retain the best and brightest scientists, entrepreneurs, and students from all over the world. Let's remember that many of the most successful U.S. technology companies were founded or co-founded by many, and many are led by immigrants or the sons and daughters of immigrants. And we must stop educating great PhD students and then not allowing them to stay in the United States. We have to have the visas. Yes. I can't tell you how many times I've been to great companies in China, research companies in China, and they're led by people that we educated with PhDs. Finally, let's lead the energy transition by continuing to strengthen our self-sufficiency in oil and gas, nuclear, fission and fusion, solar, wind, and other options. So I call on everyone in this room to together discuss and get behind areas we agree on. Let's use the power of our collective thoughts, recommendations, and ability to influence the needed plans and actions to keep strengthening our competitiveness. And as a husband and father of 3 daughters, I greatly appreciate how important the work that each of you does for our country and for our world to make it better. And so let me just finish by saying, please enjoy your dinner. I really appreciate having this position and look forward to getting to know each and every one of you who I haven't met so far. Thank you very much and enjoy your dinner. Deborah. I think Deborah's going to come back up and give us some additional guidance.
Thank you, Erik. Not only were we moved by the story, your personal story of your family and your journey to the United States, but the 4-point action plan is something that we are going to work very hard on to carry forward under your leadership. Now we're going to enjoy a lovely dinner, and when dessert and coffee are being served, we will have a highlight of our evening, which is our award ceremony for the National Competitiveness Awards for 2025, and we have 4 outstanding honorees who are with us tonight, and we look forward to that very much. So please enjoy your dinner. We're coming to the really fun part of our evening, and that's the 2025 National Competitiveness Awards, and I'd like to ask our chair, Erik, to join me on this stage. And I know many of us are seeing old friends and new friends, and I hope you enjoyed the dinner. But this is the time of year when the council steps back and recognizes the extraordinary leaders in our country whose vision, service, and commitment have strengthened the United States' competitiveness and prosperity. And for decades, the National Competitiveness Awards have honored individuals who embody the very best of our national character, innovators who push the boundaries of science and technology, academic leaders who advance talent and breakthroughs, and public servants who expand opportunity and impact. Past honorees have included cabinet secretaries, U.S. senators, pioneering scientists, and trailblazing leaders from business, academia, labor, and the public sector. And each recipient has left an indelible imprint on our country's ability to compete and prosper and move into the future. So tonight, it's my privilege with Erik to recognize 4 such distinguished leaders, each of whom has not only shaped their own field, but the broader trajectory of our nation and our global preeminence. And our first honoree is the Honorable Laurie Locascio, the Undersecretary of Commerce and Director Emeritus of the National Institute of Standards and Technology, who's now the President and CEO of the American National Standards Institute. Tonight, we begin by recognizing Laurie for her tremendous leadership in U.S. innovation and global standards competitiveness, and security. At NIST, Laurie helped drive implementation of major national programs such as the CHIPS for America initiative to strengthen our U.S. semiconductor research and manufacturing capabilities, and NIST advanced pioneering work in AI, quantum information science, cybersecurity, and biotechnology. Before leading NIST, Laurie spent over 3 decades as a biomedical researcher, inventor, and scientific and technical leader. She also served as the Vice President for Research at the University of Maryland from 2017 to 2021, where she guided the next generation of innovators and was a professor in the official Department of Bioengineering with a secondary faculty appointment in the Department of Pharmacology in the School of Medicine. As a researcher, Dr. Locascio published over 115 scientific papers. She holds 12 patents in bioengineering and analytical chemistry, including early work in microfluidics and lipid nanoparticle technologies that help pave the way for advanced medical diagnostics and vaccine development. Her research played a role in developing microfluidic devices and therapeutic delivery systems that contributed to the scientific foundation used in COVID-19 vaccines. Laurie's contributions have been recognized by major scientific and engineering organizations. She's a fellow of the National Academy of Engineering, the National Academy of Inventors, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the American Chemical Society, and the American Institute for Medical and Biological Engineering. I have had the personal privilege of calling Laurie a friend and a collaborator for many years. We worked closely during her time as a very active member of the Council's Technology Leadership and Strategy Initiative. And then in the first years of our National Commission on Innovation and Competitiveness Frontiers, she co-chaired the very important working group on accelerating research and development and technology commercialization, and many of the recommendations in our groundbreaking report were those that came from Laurie's vision and leadership. She has a tremendous intellect, she's generous, she has a commitment to advancing science and innovation that have inspired so many young people to follow in her footsteps. She is truly a national treasure. So it's my great pleasure and honor on behalf of the Council on Competitiveness to invite the Honorable Laurie Locascio to the stage to receive the 2025 National Competitiveness Award.
Thank you so much. Honestly, I'm truly honored by this. And, you know, especially in front of so many people that I admire, it's just such a privilege to be standing up here. And that includes my lifelong mentor, Honorable Dr. Willie E. May, who is in the audience. And so, you know, I want to start by saying the Council on Competitiveness under Deborah's leadership, you know, that champions work that is essential to strengthening U.S. competitiveness. We all know that. But that mission has really guided my entire career at the forefront of emerging technologies and standards. And now, you know, when I start by saying, you know, standards, people usually fall asleep, but you're all still awake. So everyone here understands why we must innovate in new technologies to enhance U.S. competitiveness. And as Undersecretary of Commerce and the NIST Director, I was really proud to lead a team of the world's top innovators in quantum research, and at the same time, build up the foundation for the CHIPS R&D program so that America could continue to innovate in semiconductors and in next generation compute technologies. But we also worked in standards. And while everyone understands why research and innovation are critical to US competitiveness, not everyone understands the importance of standards for our competitiveness and why they're strategically critical. Standards are actually the agreed upon rules that enables markets to operate and to thrive globally. They're really that silent underpinning that allows companies to expand rapidly into international markets. And so during my tenure at NIST, we did a lot in standards as well, including the development of the AI risk management framework and standards for post-quantum cryptography that could really protect us against future quantum computing attacks. And now, as President and CEO of ANSI, I have the privilege of continuing that mission from a new vantage point, which is working in this extraordinary public-private partnership with industry, linking up with government to ensure that American standards leadership accelerates U.S. competitiveness in our interconnected global economy. So lastly, I just wanted to say any award, of course, is not your own. It's really built on the accomplishments of so many. And so I share this with thousands of incredible people I've had the honor to work with who research and collaborate and dedicate their careers to one vital goal, and that is promoting U.S. leadership in this ever-changing landscape that we call the world economy of today. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. And I have to also say that when we had one of our national competitiveness conversations in 2024, and Laurie was still undersecretary, she traveled all the way to Purdue just to give her talk and in and out, and we were so grateful. And that's the kind of commitment you have made to so many organizations, including the council. Thank you for your wonderful leadership, Laurie. Tonight, we are very honored to recognize the Honorable Sethuraman Panch, Panchanathan, Director Emeritus of the National Science Foundation, and now University Professor of Technology and Innovation at Arizona State University, where he holds the Foundation Chair in Computing and Augmented Intelligence. Panch, as he is known to friends and colleagues around the world, is a computer scientist, an engineer, a visionary leader whose career has advanced science, technology, education, and innovation on a global scale. From 2020 to 2025, Panch served as the 15th director of the U.S. National Science Foundation, the independent federal agency charged with advancing all fields of scientific discovery, technological innovation, and STEM education. During his tenure, he established the first new directorate in 31 years, the Directorate for Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships, bringing to life the bold vision of innovation everywhere for everyone. And accelerating the translation of science and technology into economic growth, national security, and societal impact. Dr. Panch also oversaw some of the largest budget expansions in NSF history, securing major bipartisan investments in emerging technologies, including AI, quantum, advanced manufacturing, biotechnologies, and microelectronics, positioning the United States to lead in the industries that will define global competitiveness. His leadership was also transformative for the agency and really for the government at large, making it even more of a mission-oriented, partnership-driven organization. NSF launched new regional innovation engines, strengthened collaboration with industry, with national labs, and state and local governments, and expanded pathways for participation from underserved communities and institutions around the country. He also was a formidable force in projecting American leadership in science and technology in the global arena through the many partnerships with his counterparts around the world. At Arizona State University, where Panch has been a faculty member since 1997, his leadership has been equally extraordinary. As Chief Research and Innovation Officer and Executive Vice President of the ASU Knowledge Enterprise, he guided the university's research portfolio to increase its performance fivefold, earning recognition as the fastest growing and most innovative research university in the United States. While at ASU, Panch led the Council on Competitiveness work some years ago for our U.S.-Brazil Innovation Partnership, hosting multiple U.S.-Brazil Innovation Learning Laboratories on the ASU campus and in counterpart organizations across Brazil. He also was an early member in and actively supported our sister organization, the Global Federation of Competitiveness Councils, still led by its chairman, Chad Holliday, including chairing for the GFCC a major work stream on the Global University and Research Leadership Forum, and co-chairing multilateral efforts with dozens of other nations to accelerate innovation and tackle global mega challenges. Alongside ASU President Michael Crow, Panch hosted and catalyzed in January 2020 the first major meeting of our seminal National Commission on Innovation and Competitiveness Frontiers, helping to set the stage for the Council's path-breaking work on converging technologies and the report we issued in December of 2020, setting the stage out at ASU for months of virtual work on Zoom that seemed to never stop but produced a fantastic report. His contributions to science and innovation have been recognized globally, including this May with the Padma Shri Award, one of India's highest civilian honors conferred by the President Murmu. I have had the personal privilege of knowing Panch as a friend and colleague for many years. He has been a tremendous partner and leader in our technology leadership and strategy initiative. And the only thing I can say about Panch is that when we've worked together here in the United States and around the world, we've always had to say to him, Panch, you need to get a little bit more energy going before you talk, because, those of you who haven't had the privilege of hearing Panch speak know that it is a Zoom ride always into the future with vision, enthusiasm, and energy at the nth degree. But it's just a great, great pleasure to invite the Honorable Sethuraman Panchanathan to the stage to receive the 2025 National Competitiveness Award.
My wife will tell me your tie was not right. Wow. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Erik. And I want to thank Chad. I want to thank Joan, Ken, the previous amazing chairs, Chad, Mahmood. These are all very dear friends. When you come to environments like this, it truly, for me, is like homecoming. It's like family to me because, as Deborah said, I've been associated with the Council of Competitiveness for over 15 years or more. And first, my duty is to acknowledge an outstanding leader that we're very fortunate to have, relentlessly working on competitiveness for several decades. We all owe a huge debt of gratitude to this unbelievable, inspiring leadership in Deborah. I want to first congratulate her. She is a pretty hard person to work with and work for. Because she's a very nice person, because she's so passionate and she challenges and gets the best out of people. She's really good at that. She really is. And so we as a nation are indebted for her vision, energy, leadership. I just wanted to say to all of you, it's truly a pleasure. And that makes it doubly more exciting for me to receive this award. When you receive it from your home plate, there is nothing that matches that. But as Laurie said, I would say that to be in the company of Honorable Locascio, Steve, I tell you, it is just, when I look at the cast of folks that have been recognized today, I'm humbled by that, to be in the same league as them. They are all unbelievable leaders. And I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to work with Laurie very closely as part of the previous administration. Laurie, congratulations, Steve, and Steve, congratulations to you too. But as Laurie said, these awards, truly, it's not just you're saying it. There is no one individual who deserves, in my view, maybe the Nobel laureates, but in my view, deserves an award just for that person. It truly symbolizes the work of many, many people that make that happen. To me, it started with my parents. I owe a huge debt of gratitude. What I am today is because of my late father and my mother, who's in India. One of the reasons why I wanted to step down from NSF and spend time with her, as she's a little bit in ill health. And then to the numerous teachers, mentors, amazing colleagues, most importantly, my students. They have taught me so much than I have ever taught anything back to them. So I owe a huge debt of gratitude. And when you work in organizations like ASU and NSF, Sean is here, I tell you, these are unbelievable leaders you work with. They do the work, you get the glory, and you get the picture. So these people are all the people who make it all happen. And so I wanted to express my gratitude to every one of them. I know that there is a lot of skepticism, worry about science, what's going to happen, and so on. I can tell you, science is vibrant. Science will lead the way. We will outcompete as a nation by out-innovating because we are going to continue to advance the unbelievable scientific progress and technological progress that we have always done. We are the most innovative nation on earth, and I have no reason to believe that we are going to slow down. That's because of all of you. That's because of all of you and the people who work in your organizations. I have no doubt. I know people have these worries about things, and worries always exist. If you go back in history, there's always worries, that exists. But this nation is about how do you take a challenge and make it an opportunity and do even better. And that's what this moment calls. New models of thinking, new ways of advancing science, technology, and innovation. That's what this moment. And so I'm very excited by the work that the council has done and this meeting, which is about new ways of advancing science, technology, innovation. And Deborah mentioned this in a remark, which is I strongly believe it's not just the federal government. It's not just industry. It's not just national labs. It's not just the individual ecosystems of powerful economic development, be it Silicon Valley or Kendall Square or Austin or wherever that might be. It is all of the above and more. And that's what is going to guarantee us. And this new model of bringing everything together and working synergistically and symbiotically is what is going to get us to be leapfrogging further into this innovative and out-innovating and therefore out-competing. And so I'm excited. I know my good friend Dario will be here tomorrow talking about Genesis as one example of that model of how we are looking at the future. This future is vibrant, and I'm very optimistic that people say that you're an optimist. Yes, I am, but I'm also a realist. And it's good to be an optimist, I think, rather than a pessimist. So I'm very excited about what the future beholds, and I look forward to participating in it actively in many, many ways, because I strongly believe that we are going to continue to define the progress of science and continue to define the future of innovation. And so thank you all. Thank you so much for this big honor. I don't know whether I deserve this, but I can tell you I take it with humility. I take it with a lot of gratitude to every one of you, and I share it with all of you. And I look forward to the great future that we are all going to build together. And I want to be a part of that you're all engaged in. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Panch. And it means so much to us that you traveled and broke your journey in India to come back for the award. And thank you very, very much for everything you've done for our nation, and with great gratitude. Our next awardee is Dr. Stephen Ashby, the Laboratory Director Emeritus of the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, and now the Senior Vice President for Strategic Partnerships for Battelle. Steve has had a remarkable career in our DOE National Laboratory system, serving nearly 21 years at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, where he founded the Center for Applied Scientific Computing and held several leadership roles before joining the Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in Richmond, Washington. At PNNL, he served 7 years as Deputy Director for Science and Technology, and then 10 years as Laboratory Director, setting the lab's strategic direction and overseeing a $1.7 billion R&D budget. Under his leadership, PNNL grew substantially and advanced its missions in scientific discovery, energy resiliency, and national security. Yet Steve's leadership extends and extended far beyond the lab. He has been a key participant and leader in many of the Council's seminal initiatives. Under Steve's guidance, PNNL helped shape a wide range of Council initiatives, from linking energy security and resiliency to the revitalization of U.S. manufacturing capabilities, including smart grid optimization, to co-leading early work demonstrating the productivity case for investments in the bioeconomy, which laid the foundation for the Council's current flagship initiative on the future of America's bioeconomy. He also has been instrumental in our ongoing National Commission on Innovation and Competitiveness Frontiers, and has contributed to our long-standing technology leadership and strategy initiative. Steve's impact has not been limited to the United States either. He has represented the Council internationally, engaging with our strategic partners around the world, including in Japan and Ireland and other nations, helping to advance global competitiveness on a global scale. He is a fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, a fellow of the Society for Industrial and Applied Mathematics, and a member of Washington State Academy of Science. It is my pleasure to invite Dr. Steve Ashby to the stage to receive the 2025 National Competitiveness Award. And Steve, I will not insist that on the way to catch a flight back from Dublin to the United States, that you stop at an unknown place called Newgrange to see the world's oldest Mesolithic tomb chambers.
Well, wow. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Deborah, for the kind introduction, and I'm grateful to the Council for honoring me with this prestigious award. I'm truly humbled, especially when I consider the contributions of my fellow award winners. I will note, however, that I think there is an error in my nomination for this award. Each of the other award winners are honorable in some way. I'll let you conclude where I stand in that group. But throughout my tenure as laboratory director, I had the privilege of witnessing the impact that the Council has made through the dedicated efforts of its leadership and members. All in this room should be proud of their efforts to advance U.S. economic competitiveness. The Council's website nicely summarizes its mission as uniting leaders from across the innovation ecosystem to foster prosperity. The Council does this and so much more, and you do it with a passion that inspires all of us. And so I want to then thank Deborah and the Council with a round of applause for their tireless efforts. As someone who spent more than 40 years working for the Department of Energy and its national laboratories, I'm particularly grateful to Deborah and the Council for their steadfast support of the department and its labs. The national labs have been called the crown jewels of our nation's R&D enterprise. We partner with academia, industry, and labor to strengthen national security, advance scientific discovery, and deliver innovations that benefit our fellow Americans and, indeed, the entire world. From the success of the Manhattan Project to mapping the human genome, the labs have taken on the big challenges of the day. Today, Our world-leading capabilities are delivering new materials for myriad applications and enabling an energy-abundant future for all. And looking ahead, the national labs are working to harness the power of fusion energy and realize the potential of quantum computing. Perhaps most exciting, at least to me as a computational scientist, is the role we've been asked to play in the Genesis mission, which Undersecretary Gill will describe tomorrow. This once-in-a-generation challenge is truly awe-inspiring. The President has tasked the Department of Energy and its leading national laboratories to lead this initiative to use artificial intelligence to double U.S. R&D productivity within the next decade. To do this, we'll need the collective capabilities of our national labs, research universities, and industry. In other words, everyone in this room. The Genesis mission is the kind of challenge that Vannevar Bush had in mind in 1945 when he authored Science, the Endless Frontier. That seminal report led to the creation of an R&D ecosystem that has served the nation extraordinarily well. We should not, however, take its continued success for granted. During these fiscally challenging times, we need to remind our leaders of the importance that science and technology play in our security, prosperity, and well-being as a nation. Let each of us, therefore, recommit ourselves to Bush's original vision and work tirelessly to promote and preserve this unique ecosystem. I know that the Council will do so, and I'm grateful for its efforts. In closing, thank you very much for this award, which I'm proud to accept on behalf of all those working in our national laboratories to serve our nation through the advancement of scientific discovery and technological innovation. Thank you very much.
Our final National Competitiveness Awardee of 2025 is the Honorable Steve Isakowicz, the President and CEO Emeritus of the Aerospace Corporation, and a leader whose career has spanned government, commercial, and space sectors, always in the service of the public good. Steve has driven significant strategic and cultural transformations at Aerospace, positioning the company to outpace emerging threats to national security, advance new capabilities from industry, and connect complex missions in support of national priorities, including space warfighting, layered missile defense, and human space exploration. Under his leadership, Aerospace embraced its role as a trusted partner across the space industrial base, adopting cutting-edge commercial capabilities for government missions, advancing breakthrough space vehicle designs, small satellite technologies, and prototypes, and expanding its role in federal space policy. Over the course of his distinguished career, Steve has made transformative contributions at Virgin Galactic, at NASA, the Department of Energy, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the White House Office of Management and Budget. His leadership has helped renew plans for exploration of the Moon and Mars, opened commercial frontiers in space, and furthered scientific research in advanced energy technologies critical to national security and civil missions. Steve is an AIAA Honorary Fellow, recipient of the Presidential Senior Executive Service Distinguished Rank Award, the NASA Outstanding Leadership Medal, the USC Viterbi Epstein Award for Engineering Management, and the Scantlebury Award for Federal CFOs. He is also the founder of Space Workforce for Tomorrow, a cross-industry initiative to strengthen the nation's space workforce for generations to come. I had the privilege of knowing Steve through his long-standing engagement with the Council. He hosted with the Council one of the nation's first cross-sectoral meetings to explore the competitiveness implications of space writ large and how to think about growing an American terrestrial and extraterrestrial workforce. Steve has been an exceptional colleague, helping our work to advance innovation, national security, and prosperity in the space enterprise, and certainly playing an important role in the foundational work for the upcoming major global initiative of the Golden Dome. It is truly our pleasure on the Council on Competitiveness to invite the Honorable Steve Isakowicz to receive the 2025 National Competitiveness Award.
Well, thank you, Erik, and thank you, Deborah. Deborah, earlier this evening, came up to me. She walked by me. She says, "Thank you so much for accepting this award." And I'm thinking to myself, when I heard that I was going to get this award, I felt like Fernando Mendoza, and I just won the Heisman Trophy. It was a woohoo moment. Really am excited and honored. And again, to my 3 other colleagues for receiving this award, I'm really honored to be up here with them. So as I think about this award, I think a little less about my past and think more about my future. This morning I flew in from Los Angeles. One of the last things I had a chance to do was to kiss my one and only grandchild, a 1-year-old Ellie, goodbye. And thinking about her future, thinking to myself, she's going to be around in the 22nd century. She'll be here past the 2100. And what kind of world is that going to be? If we just think about how far we've come in such an incredibly short time, she'll be living in a world where not only will hopefully all Americans be living healthier, they'll be living longer, the economy will be stronger, there'll be greater services, energy will be more abundant, there'll be exciting opportunities in career and exploration and space. What an exciting future that holds for her. I just think of what happened in my career, just like in the last 10 years, let alone looking at the next 75 years. The last 10 years in space has literally transformed, and I think it's really been a good example of what we're seeing across all industries. We have actually flown more satellites in the last few years than the entire history of America's space program. We've seen the price of actually getting into space drop by over 90%. We have seen a lot more entrepreneurship, startups. In fact, this week, you're reading about a company that wants to go public through an IPO whose valuation could exceed $1 trillion. Yeah, that's 12 zeros. We live in an amazing era with amazing excitement, and that's just been the last 10 years. What kind of exponential changes are we going to see as we go into the future? I could not be happier or more excited for her because of what the future holds for her. But I also think about what Erik said earlier. We see the geopolitical complexity that we have around the world for us at this time. I worry a little bit about the innovator's dilemma, that because we've been so good in the past, that somehow we should be complacent, that we will always be good in the future. And I do feel that when we see China beginning to outpace us, gaining us, surpass us in the things they do, in fact, they might, by the end of this decade, do something that we did 50 years ago, which was land on the moon, but they're going to go there to stay, and we don't have footprints back there again. I do think it's a wake-up call for us to think about what kind of future do we want to leave to our children and our grandchildren and future Americans as we think about the decades to come. Now, I take great hope in the Council of Competitiveness doing exactly the kinds of things that make us think about it. I think next year is the 40th anniversary. So as we begin to think about what does the next 40 years hold for us, I do think that's a challenge for all of us to think about. What are the things that we need to do working together, as Panch so eloquently said, to bring the kind of energy, innovation that made us so great to get to this point, but ensures that we continue on that trajectory for years to come. And I'm very excited by what we'll be talking about tomorrow. I love the programming of the Council of Competitiveness, its membership, the fora that they hold throughout the year to bring us together to talk about these incredibly important issues. So because of that, I'm excited. I'm really pleased to accept this Heisman Trophy Award and look forward to being with you all tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Steve. Well, let's give a round of applause to our 4 awardees. And I would just ask, after we close the evening, if Erik and our two board members, Chancellor Gable and Chad Halliday, could stay for a moment, and all four awardees come up for a group picture, would be very nice. Tomorrow, we have an exceptional day ahead. Our forum, as I said earlier, is going to focus on many of the issues that are going to be shaping, yes, the next 10, 20, 30 years, but taking us into our 40th anniversary. We have a tremendous roundup of speakers, many of whom are in this room, as well as our keynote address from the Honorable Dario Gil, from the co-chairs of the Bipartisan House Biotechnology Caucus. We will be right here in the Salamander Hotel. We are starting early tomorrow at 7:15 with a hearty breakfast. And I look forward to welcoming you all tomorrow. And thank you so much for coming tonight and celebrating with us the tremendous accomplishments of this group of American leaders. Thank you. Good night.